Plaistow Board of Selectmen meeting for June 15th, 2020. I'd like to call this meeting to order at 6:30 PM. And Beth, may I have a roll call, please?
Select Chair, Ms. Hart.
Here.
Select Vice Chair, Mr. Stallion.
Here.
Selectman Mr. Kiska.
Here.
Selectman Mr. Glenn.
Here.
Selectman Mr. DeRoche.
Here.
And note the record, town manager, Mr. Pierce is here.
Okay, thank you, Beth. Could you stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. So the first item on the agenda is to approve the second draft of the May 18th minutes.
Make a motion that we approve the May 18th, 2020 Board of Selectmen minutes.
All right,
I'll second.
okay, great. Is there any discussion on that? All right, seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Go ahead.
Are we doing the streaming video this?
Yes, we are. We are. I checked with Dean, and he is doing the
Does that have to
streaming
be
video.
roll call then?
Pardon?
Or doesn't votes have to have a roll call? Votes have to have a roll call?
No, 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 no. We're all here. We don't need
Only
a
if
vote roll
somebody-
call.
Only if somebody
Only if
is-
someone's not here.
That are not here physically in the meeting, you do roll call, but if all the members are here, there's no,
All right, I
There's
got
no
it.
need to do that, right. Okay, so anyway, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? That motion carries 500. The next set of meeting minutes was for June 1st. So may I have a motion on the floor to approve those, please?
Make a motion that we approve the June 1st, 2020 Board of Selectmen minutes.
Okay, may I have a second, please?
I second the motion.
All righty. Any discussion on those minutes? Nope, seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries 500. So I'm going to defer public comment to address a public hearing. So I'm going to call the public hearing to order at 6:33 PM. And this is to discuss a Land, Water, and Conservation Fund grant. So if there are any members of the public that wish to make a comment, I believe there's a phone number at the bottom of your screen. If you'd like to call and make a comment, we'll be happy to listen to that. And I guess while we're waiting a few minutes for that, I'll ask the board if they have any comments with regards to that grant. Okay. All right, so Mark, would you mind doing the honors of letting us know what this grant is? It's been a long time in coming for this.
Yes, so a while ago, the town had put in an application for the State of New Hampshire Land and Water Conservation Fund grant. And it was a grant where the town matches funds, and they work with the Appalachian Mountain Club that comes in to map out and create some trails and work with the town and the town's resources to put in those walking trails, in this particular case in Mount Misery. So the total amount is $103,000, but the town will supply half of that in labor and resources and material and equipment for $51,500, and the other $51,500 will come from this grant. So that's really the nuts and bolts of this, and this grant does not expire until the end of 2021 or 22. So we are not going to worry about that because we have a plan. We have had SEC go out there to delineate the town land to go from Park out to the Mount Misery with an easement in a couple places, and then to cross town land in another place, and to get to the trail. And I actually did walk it with the recreation chairman and the people from SEC. that was the part that we needed to work out and make sure that we were actually on town land. We certainly didn't want to trespass and go onto somebody else's land, but we found the way to do it. And the town will probably end up renting a mini excavator as part of this match in the resources, and go out there and we mark the trail where to go. There is the easiest way to go with the obstructions in the way, and we'll probably have a member of the highway department who has volunteered to do it, maybe on weekends, because he does live close by up there, and you know, to just help getting that trail out to the Mount Misery, and then the Appalachian Mountain Club will then take it from there. So I don't think it's going to be an easy project because of the terrain, but I think it's a step in the right direction, and this was a long-term goal, I think, for the Recreation
Yes, it
Commission,
was,
which was to
yes.
do this.
Mark, are you anticipating them starting any of this project this year, do you suspect, or is that up in the air at this point?
They could actually start at any time.
Okay.
I'm really not sure about when the Appalachian Mountain Club could come. I mean, realistically, they can come and go into the Mount Misery system and do whatever it is that they're going to do. We're really going to work on the trail from Park to get out to the trail system and focus on that, which is part of our in-kind donation for this. So we'll keep track of all that in-kind, and then it will add up. We'll do well above our share of the $51,500.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? Jay? No? All right. Okay, so may I have a motion on the floor?
I'll make a motion to accept the grant money in the amount of $51,500 from the state of New Hampshire Land and Water Conservation Fund grant, and to authorize Mark Pearson, town manager, to sign all paperwork related to the grant. The money will be used for trails at Mount Misery.
Thank you.
I'll
May I
second
have
the
a
motion.
second? I'm sorry?
I'll second the
Yeah,
motion.
okay. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? All right, that motion carries 500. So I am now going to close the public hearing at 8:37 PM. So I will open up the floor for public comment, and again, you have a number at the bottom of the screen. If anybody would like to call in to make a public comment, we'll kind of wait for a few minutes before we start that. And if no one has a public comment, the next person that I would like to bring up is our assessing agent from Cochran Associates, Mrs. Mary Beth Walker. Good evening, and thank you very, very much for taking time out of your schedule to come to talk to us. I had asked Mrs. Walker to just kind of give us a midpoint update on the conversion from our Universe software to the Vision software, so she's here to give us an update and answer questions that you may have. So thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me here. As you know, last year we did a software conversion from the Universe system over to Vision Appraisal System. And we did not start the utilization of that. For the spring bills this year, we sent them out still using the Universe system. Vision Appraisal has started to do their measure and list. So they did a bridge over from the Universe system to Vision last year, and now they're out checking the data, trying to determine the differences between Universe and Vision, and how do they want to pick that data up so that it converts well. And as they're doing that, they're about 20% done with the residential right now, and they've just started the commercial properties. They have not done any data entry yet. They're still working on, I met with them again this morning, just kind of sorting out some of the questions on how do we want things picked up. So they have started doing a land study and building costs. They are starting to work on the actual revaluation piece of it. And they have sent out income and expense sheets to the businesses in town. So if you own a business, you may have received one. And they have stated right on there, it's not your personal income, it's what you would receive for, say, if you were leasing or renting that space out. And so that's what they're looking for. And they gave pretty good directions and a sheet and where to send it back to. So that's the information that they're gathering up so far.
Okay. Do you feel that we're on track as far as being able to complete this values and new process by the end of the year, even though we got such a late start?
We definitely will. As you're aware, we did delay the final values off a month because of how the contract set. They were a little bit behind on starting the data collection because of the pandemic. To bring that up, one of the things that they had asked us to discuss today and kind of give them an idea of what you would like to do. I had sent an email to Mrs. Hart, just letting them know that the New Hampshire DRA has changed their standards for this year as to what is expected of us during a reval or statistical update. And it allows the community to not have those interior inspections that people are so hesitant to have. And in the communities that I'm in right now, where we're doing updates and cycles and the routine business that we would normally do, we're giving the communities the choice. And so Vision is kind of doing that for you as well. They're asking you if you would like to, instead of interior inspections, which they were going to do at the end of their data collection, if they could send out a data mailer which would say to the taxpayer, this is what we have on your property record card, and when you look at that, do you agree with it? If not, is there a change in bedroom count or finished basement or that sort of thing? So they're trying to just get a sense from you what you would like to do. Do you want them to send letters out and start doing interior inspections? If you would like that to happen, they would like to send out whatever they have finished by the end of June, so about half the community, and then the rest before they set value. They don't expect that you're going to get a lot of response, and that's why they suggested the data mailers. You may have, it's less hands-on, so you may have more of response.
So I'm so glad that you brought that up, because that was one of the things that we were going to talk about before you left tonight. And unfortunately, I gave that information from the DRA to you guys very late, and I apologize for that. But my personal opinion is we don't want to jeopardize either the assessors or our citizens by having them go in during the pandemic with masks and hoping things are sanitized, et cetera. So as Mrs. Walker said, you have two options. One is a phone interview, which would take approximately an hour, and the other one was a data mailer that she suggested. And I guess my personal thought, and we can discuss this quickly if you wish, is a data mailer, it's a documentation and it's documented, so it's hard data as opposed to a phone conversation. So my preference personally is to send out the data mailers to everyone, and hopefully they will turn them in and turn them back in. And I guess as with all values and new, there will be some people that will not turn in the data, or, just they don't want people in their homes. So we'll deal with that, afterwards. But go ahead, Greg.
So the only concern that I have is, does either the property-only inspection or the data mailers, does that allow us to still do a complete values and new for the town? Or is it the same as just a statistical analysis or update?
No, you're doing a full revaluation, which is a full measure and list and valuing all of the properties here in Plaistow. And what it's doing is they're going to take the information they have on the property record card and give people the opportunity to correct that information through this data mailer. One of the things that did not come over well is on the Universe system, we don't include finished basements in the sketch. The Vision system does do that. We're not getting in to do interior inspections. So they're taking our data that we have, the finished basements, and they're going to value them. They're going to be on the sketch just as a number, but we won't have them in the sketch to say where that area is. So those kind of things are what we're kind of compensating on, which is just not going to be in the sketch. Over time, you hope that you would correct that, but the value should not be different.
Okay.
So we still be able to progress.
Go ahead, Jay.
With the data mailer, is there some type of online component to it? Like, seen in the past, I've received mailers myself where, you can fill it out and send it back, or you can go online and fill something out. Is there any type of component like that available?
I can ask them, but I believe that they're sending hard mailers out and asking them to be returned.
Yeah.
One of the good things about that is that will be part of our source files for
Exactly,
years and years to
exactly,
come.
exactly.
The person who's filling it out will sign the bottom of it, I'm assuming, and then that would be from the owner. That change would be from the owner, and then you have a hard copy of it.
Right, okay. Go ahead, Greg.
Are we only collecting the parameters that were on the Universe system, or are we using any new parameters that are part of the Vision system?
We are using all of the vision parameters.
Okay,
And that with the absence of some of those parameters being on the Universe system, that's what we're trying to make up.
okay. So we're making use of the Vision software's capabilities.
Yes, that's the reason for doing the reval,
Great.
yes.
Awesome, thank you.
All right, and Julian, you have a question?
Yeah, since they can't go and inspect, are they looking at building permits that have been issued for that residence, or let's say the business? I think we're talking about residents a lot in the context. But are they looking at building permits that were issued, I don't know, in the last decade or so to that property?
So they are not doing that because we have been doing that all along. That would be a duplicative efforts, and we didn't contract them to do that. So they're making the assumption that up right through this permit season for 2020, that we have collected that data, and now they're using the data that we collected to value, in addition to whatever else they find out there. You'll find that the commercial properties on the vision cards are very different from the Universe card, so that is their challenge. They're going out there, and for a lot of it, they're doing from scratch, picking it up on the vision system.
Okay. Go ahead.
So in continuation, as far as the commercial properties go, and you say a lot of this data may not have been in the vision system, not the vision, but the Universe system, then if they can't go on site now because of the pandemic, which I see the restrictions and people don't want to let you on buildings and whatever, is there any way to, if you can't do it now, it can be done later?
So the first part of that, most commercial, so we are measuring all of the commercial properties, and they're observing. We have printed out our Universe card so they can still get that data. So they'll still have this amount of square foot is being used for office, this amount's being used for warehouse, et cetera. It's only that it will be picked up differently on the vision card, and they'll be valuing it based on what they pick up. So they're still going to be measuring the commercial properties. From my understanding, if their business is open, they're still doing an inspection because it's open for anyone to come in. So they are doing inspections there. Our biggest concern more is the residential properties,
Right.
I think, than the commercial properties.
So am I to also understand that they will be verifying exterior measures later on in the year? So there will be assessors walking around people's yards verifying the external
They're
surface?
out there already.
Okay, great.
Yep.
All
So
right,
they've done
excellent.
20% of the residential already.
All right.
And along that question for the residents, what kind of ID or whatever can residents expect to see from these people, not knowing they're assessors or they're just some stranger walking through their yard?
So they are wearing their vision appraisal IDs. I know that they're out there. We've had phone calls here. The police department's had phone calls. It's been on social media. So people are being visited and asking, what are they doing out here? We didn't send a pre-letter to say that we were out there. We certainly could do that if you felt it would be beneficial, but most people are pretty aware that we're doing a reevaluation this year. I believe that it was up on the website.
Yes,
And Lori put out some information for public relations.
So,
My house this morning, they were very, the gentleman was very, very polite, stood back, explained the whole process, offered to show his credentials, and they also have the car with the symbol on the car as well. It was done very, very professionally. I thought I was very impressed.
great,
So
great.
that-
Go ahead.
So it's obvious, right?
John, go ahead.
Are they looking in the windows?
I hope not.
I hope not, too. Oh, my.
I hope not. And just on that idea of thinking, just so you are aware, The New Hampshire Department of Revenue is going to be out this week as well. On Wednesday and Thursday of this week, they are checking our sales data from last year. So if a property sold last year, they are out doing what they call quality control on our work from last year. So you may get a knock on the door from them, and they are wearing a badge as well. And they have sent postcards out ahead of time and made appointments.
Okay, great. So if there's no further questions with regards to this, are you all in agreement that the mailer is the most appropriate way to take care of this? Do we need a formal motion for this, or are you comfortable with just a general consensus from us?
General consensus.
All right.
Consensus is
Thoughts,
fine.
guys, are you good with that?
We're good.
You all good?
Not any worse than we had.
Right, okay, great. All right, thank you. So what I will do, Mary Beth, is I will draft a letter maybe to send to you first thing tomorrow based on the templates that you gave me from Visions. And you can, do if you feel you need to edit it, please feel free to do so. But I wanted to get that out as soon as possible to you so that, we're not lagging on any timeframes.
Okay, that would be good, because I'm
Okay.
going to forward it to them, and they're sending
Yep.
the letters out.
Okay, great. Now, will we get these returned back with a self-addressed stamped envelope, or will they actually have to mail them out themselves, or how does that work, do you know?
I don't believe they're putting stamps on them.
All
but
right, so.
I can ask.
all right, No,
I-
yeah, all right, okay. Go ahead, Julian, yeah.
Might be a good idea to put the stamp on it, because people don't want to go to the post office and get exposed, so to speak, to get a stamp. I don't-
Yeah, well, they may have to go to the post office to mail it, but,
Well, you could just
but we
drop
can
it in.
ask, yeah, we can ask, because I'm sure,
So I don't know how that affects us,
more.
only because we're changing their contract piece a little bit. We're asking them we're okaying them not to do the interior inspections, but we're asking them to provide envelopes with stamps on them. You have 3,800 parcels. How many people are going to send those back, and how many stamps are going to be wasted? So,
If you do the permit onto the envelope, you only get charged for the ones that they actually mail back, and it's a reduced rate.
okay,
You can
so,
look into the permit, that
Yeah.
way there, we don't pay for the stamp for
well,
every.
we're not anyway. Vision is paying for all of
Right.
this. So that's where I
Right.
have to ask
and
them.
I'm guessing that at 55 cents for 3,800 is significantly less than paying assessors to actually physically go to each home and look at this stuff, too. So hopefully they'll be good about that. Go ahead, Julian.
Mark's comment, doing the permit thing, you only get charged if it actually gets mailed, because I did hear you. My hearing's still good.
Yep.
And
All
I
right.
think that's the best of both worlds. If
Yeah.
they don't mail it, you don't pay for it.
I was whispering it.
I wore my earplugs overseas.
All right, okay, so that's,
They have the thing.
so, all right, so that's really good that we've agreed on that. Now, does the board have any other maybe questions for Mrs. Walker while she's here, because you're only going to get her for a few more minutes?
Then they can just tell us what that charge is when it's done. We'll take care of that charge. You know what I'm saying? Vision can do the permit.
All right, you guys can work out the details on that, okay? So the only question I have, and I don't want it to be a trick question or anything, because I know you don't have a crystal ball, but could you give us some kind of sense of what the real estate market is like, with this COVID thing in New Hampshire? Or if you can't do it, you can't do it, but I'm just curious, because I keep reading that the mortgage rates are down and that home prices are not coming down, and I keep hearing all these things, and I don't know if you could just maybe give us, an overview of what your sense is for this upcoming year, if you could.
So for you folks, normally I would be coming to you in a month anyway, which I wouldn't be doing this year because you're already doing a reval, and just kind of giving you an idea of where the sales are. So I did that today. We've had 63 sales since October, and when we did the update last year, our median value was 96.9. And
Good.
right now, it's at 91%. So you can see the market's still
Strong, wow, okay.
I did it by quarters to kind of capture what has happened since March. And we had, quarterly, we had gone from the 96.9%, then the first 3 months was 95%, the second 3 months was 89%, and then the month and a half that I have for data that is in right now is 90%. So it just kind of leveled it out a little bit, but our values, the sale prices are still strong. There are, like I said, 63 sales, but there's only 45 properties on the market right now. That includes commercial and residential, and probably about 10 of them have been put on the market in the last 4 days.
Okay.
So they're not staying on the market for very long.
Wow.
So I can't say how it has affected everybody, but that's how it's affected you folks.
Okay, go ahead, Julian.
So in simplifying it, so the values anew, though, which is taking place right now, was going to bring it up to about what their actual value is, though, even though right now they're at 90%. True?
Yes, that's part of the reevaluation, is to convert the data, but to also bring you up to 100% of market value.
So it was very fortuitous and brilliant of you guys to actually do that whole statistical update last year, because I'm guessing we would have been in the 60s as far as proportionality, and people would have seen a huge jump in their assessments this year if we did not do what we did last year. So even though there was a lot of criticism for it, and it was just by dumb luck, I think, but we made the right decision, and thanks to Mrs. Walker for guiding us through that, because, they're experts and they have the common sense to really guide us through to that stuff. So you guys did a great job with that, so thank you. All right, any more questions for Mrs. Walker before I let her go? No, thank you so much for coming.
You're welcome.
I really appreciate this, all right. So I'll get that draft letter out to you. I'll email that to you first thing tomorrow, and you can do as you feel best with that, with
you. Enjoy the weather.
Thank you. All righty. So that's great. Okay, so next on the agenda is a request for the assessing contract, the RFP. Now, you guys don't have that in your folder, but I sent it out to you over a week ago for you to take a look at it, because it's a very detailed RFP. So I guess my questions to you are just as a summary. This is going to be a 3-year assessing contract, and by law, we are required to have the bidders list each year's cost for the contract, and I think it's called Sanbornizing from our Sanborn School District. There was a Supreme Court case regarding that. So it's a 3-year contract. I also want to point out to you that in that contract, whoever the successful bidder is going to be scheduling employees to do some of the work here periodically during, the course of the week, because we're really strapped for employees, and poor Lori Sadowitz can only multitask so many times. So we've added that into the contract as well. The other thing that you guys need to know is that the prior boards made the decision to do values anew rather than statistical updates. And so by law, we're required to do values anew once every 5 years. And as Julian mentioned before, which is totally correct, is if we need to, we can do it sooner than that rather than a statistical update every year. So we did not put the addendum in there for a statistical update. So future boards, if you all decide, if you're all still here, whether you want to do an update, a statistical update, you can do that, but it would be an addendum to this contract. It would be extra money. So I just want to make sure you guys understood that before we let that RFP rip, all right?
Just one values anew would be covered by the,
Yeah, and I think the board's going to have to do some work on potentially putting together a warrant article to start escrowing funds to do the values anew, because as you recall, we did $155,000 in our budget this year because we had to pay for it by law. So if we're smart enough, we can, escrow some money over a period of 3 or 4 or 5 years, and it won't hit the budget, and it'll level fund stuff. Go ahead, Julian.
Yeah, I was going to say some of that, but
Yeah.
I did read through the RFP.
Yep.
It's like the best one I've ever seen. I don't know where they got the template for it. but
Well,
it was very thorough and
yes.
very clear.
Yes,
So I like the
yes.
RFP. The second thing was, what you were saying is, instead of doing a statistical update, which sometimes was only commercial or it was only residential,
It's
it really
usually-
wasn't fair to one side or another.
Exactly,
That
exactly.
instead of spending that money every year, what we talked about previously for people that hadn't been following, we could even, instead of 5 years, do it 3 years, but only do it with everybody at once.
Exactly.
So it's more equitable or
Yeah.
fair.
Fair
even though it
isn't
sounds
proportional.
Yeah,
Fair
it
is not
sounds
proportional.
economically, like I'll do a statistical update every couple of years, but then you have the inequities that occur because of
Right.
the way the process works. And
Right,
the other thing
because-
is, we do need to have some kind of a fund that we put the money in every year, so that all of a sudden, the year that we do it, it doesn't hit the budget in a large amount.
Exactly.
So we talked about that previously, but we haven't actually created that fund.
No, and hopefully we can do that this year.
Do it
I mean,
this year.
it is a process, and it has to go in a particular order.
Yep.
So, and most of the statistical updates, 99% of them are always done on residential properties. Every once in a while, they'd be on commercial condos. But it really, like I said, proportional does not mean fair, and it's only because commercial properties do not sell as frequently as the residents. So this was the way that the board decided to make the playing field level and to give everybody a fair shot. So I'm not going to belabor that.
So this is a 3-year
It's a 3-year contract.
contract, so it
correct.
does, so I just dawned on me, the values anew will be 5 years.
Correct.
So there will be no values anew for this contract.
That's correct. Values anew is a separate contract, or it should be. I mean, in my personal opinion, I know Julian and I were on prior boards that talked about this. My personal feeling is we need to have a third party do it so that it's
Fair.
clean and, objective
Objective,
and
right.
whatever. Go ahead,
Now,
Julian.
even though I know the
So can
minimum
I finish?
requirement,
May
Oh,
I finish?
I
Sorry.
apologize. Excuse me, 1 second, Julian. Both of us need to be quiet. Go ahead. I apologize. Go ahead.
So just to be very, very clear, we are setting our residents, if the values, the real estate property values keep on going up, it's going to be 5 years of increases that are going to be assessed all at once, and there could be a substantial increase. So I just want to make sure that we are aware that
Yes.
doing this every 5 years sounds like it's really good, but instead of having a very small increase each year, we could be having a very large increase.
Go ahead,
I
Julian.
think it's a little misinterpretation. We didn't decide that we would only do it every 5 years.
Right, that's right.
When we knew it has to be done by looking at the information from our
Right.
assessor. The thing is, we also saw that even though 5 years is the minimum by law, it doesn't mean if things change a lot or drastically up or down, that it shouldn't be done, because a lot can happen in 5 years. That's a long time in the market, and things can jump a lot. So if we see that it's going way askew, instead of doing the statistical update whenever we saw things go askew, we just do a values anew. We don't do the statistical update every year, so we're saving up the money toward the values anew, which we have discussed it seems more fair when everybody gets evaluated instead of a certain group. So it's not really, we're even decided it's 5 years. It's something we have to see as we go down the road.
And actually, mathematically, you wind up paying less taxes if you do it once every 5 years than if you do the statistical updates every year, because you're taking a percentage of a percentage. So you do pay a little bit more by doing it that way. It's just a paper cut instead of, a baseball bat, I guess. So if you guys are all set with the RFP and you don't have any further issues or questions, and I do want to also, by the way, mention that Mrs. Walker was the one that was very instrumental in helping me with that RFP, so you have to give kudos to her. So I'm going to ask, I will direct the town manager to send out that RFP first thing in the morning, right? I know he's giving me the eyeball, the look. So could we send it out, we could put it on the town website, send it out to NHMA, and I would like to have it sent to Corcoran Associates, MRI, and Visions as well, because I would, we want to make sure we get as many bids as we possibly can to see that. So if you guys are good with that, I will move on to the next thing, unless you want to take a formal vote to direct him to do that. Go ahead, Jay.
So when you put it out to RFP, you can send it directly to certain companies, but is there also a pool that will have access to
NHMA.
it?
NHMA has an assessing component within their department, and I want to send it out, obviously, to as many people as we can, and I want to make sure people understand we're not kind of stacking the deck by sending it to certain people. I think Mark had spoken to us last time about making sure some people get RFPs, like the person that was trying to bid on the salt shed because they were in Maine. And so we want to make sure as many bids come in as possible. So NHMA will shotgun it to all 32 assessors in New Hampshire. It will be on our town website, and then we will alert specific assessors that we know and have dealt with too. Okay, so do you want a formal vote on that, or are we good in just directing Mark?
I think we're good.
We're good. We're good. Okay, great. Thank you, gentlemen. All right, so the next item on the agenda is the courthouse discussion. And I am going to turn that over to Mark because as you all remember, the district court is going to be vacating the premises by the end of the month. So there needs to be some decisions made on what we're going to do with that property.
So in your folder, you'll see a reopening plan, and the reason why I'm directing your attention to that is because part of my reopening plan involves the courthouse, and I will explain that in a minute. So I think it's important to have a reopening plan and then be flexible depending on the circumstances that may change, because this has changed and will continue to change. And I think that my approach is that we need to look at this long-term and be fluid, but not rule out the possibility that we might be in for a longer period than a shorter period. So my immediate first priority would be to open the ground floor of Town Hall for the sole purposes of the town clerk and the tax collector function. And the plan is to, we've already ordered the safety glass and the plexiglass petitions, and we're waiting for them to actually come and install them. There's been a delay because there's a big demand for other people too, and we're just in the queue. So it's been certainly better part of 4 weeks now. We're in the queue. So, as soon as it happens, it happens. I can't make it happen any faster. The second part of it is that we would put some wall petitions on the ground floor and put the markers every 6 feet, and we would create one-way traffic in the front doors to the town clerk's office and out to the side door. And we wouldn't not have people really, the public deviating to go into other areas of the building, and that we would still screen people coming in, okay? And that people would be wearing masks. So we'd take all the precautions that we can. If there was employees that,
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, Jay.
So if you screen someone and they don't pass the screening, what do? Turn them away?
well, then you turn them away, sure. We don't have them come in.
Right.
Because, there's a potential to
Right.
spread. On the other side, if we have employees that have doctor's notes that they have an underlying condition and they're not supposed to be in contact or proximity to the public, then those employees are going to be required to wear PPE. And we're asking for clarification from multiple sources now on what that means. Is it a Tyvek suit and a face shield and glasses and a mask and gloves? And it may be. So we're working with our insurance carrier, Primex, and we're working with primary care doctors now to come up with what that is, because there's a balance here. The balance is that if the public's coming in, but an employee can't have that close contact with the public, then we have to take the precautions, and the precautions are that the employee is going to have to wear full PPE. This is new territory. This is not easy. So we have a plan, and we're going to work with it as best we can. As soon as the plexiglass comes in, we can work towards the opening of the town clerk's office and the tax collector for the public to walk in and not be outside the front doors. And we are hoping that that will be early July. Priority 2, to relocate the building safety department to a location that which would provide access to the public for permits and a space for the inspectors to have desks and office space to meet with office hours for the applicants for permits. So the plan would be, subsequent to the courthouse, which is the discussion we're on now, about the courthouse lease being up at the end of this month, is that in July, to do the minor renovations we need to move the building safety department from the 3rd floor, which is not accessible by the public now at all, because people have to travel through the elevator and the stairs and all that, and through the building, to put them over at the clerk of court space that has some screening and has some security, and some plexiglass and so forth, and provide any barriers that they need to protect the employees, and make minor renovations to the restrooms to make them handicap accessible. And I haven't been over there to inspect the bathrooms, but being aware of what it takes to convert a bathroom, it's not that big of a deal. It's the openings, and it's a couple things required. I think we can get past that. And to incorporate the inspectional process for the fire inspector. Now, when, that would be as soon as we could get into the building, say in July, and possibly accomplish this for August. One thing I want to go back to is that, just so that you know, the building inspector, and the electrical inspector, the plumbing inspector, and any of our inspectors have not been in the office building since this happened. And out of necessity, we've had to keep the inspectors, because they're in and out, in and out, in and out, and we needed to protect the integrity of the building and so forth. This would provide them with their own space over there that they could come in and out of the buildings. And I think it's valuable that the contractors can go there and have a face-to-face with the proper screening with the inspectors, and make that process more holistic for the public and for the contractors and for the businesses in town. So that's my phase 2, but I think I can accomplish that in August. That would be with the board's help with that. Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Greg.
Just a very quick question, Mark. Because parking was an issue with the court, do we believe we will have adequate parking to take care of the traffic for the town clerk,
I do.
tax
and
collector, and the safety?
Well, tax collector's not going to be over there. Tax collector's here.
Oh, that's how I was reading this.
No,
That's why I
tax
thought you
collector
were
stays
over.
here.
Okay, so it's just the town clerk,
No.
No, either one.
Building,
Building inspector.
Building.
building, oh, so just the building inspector. Okay, I read this
Correct.
totally different.
And rec, right?
Right. So parking, actually, it creates a better parking situation.
Okay.
Because the people that were coming here at the same time for building inspections that were coming here, there was more people coming to town hall. There'd be less people coming to town hall. It'd just be the people for the traffic, for the town clerk and for the tax collector. And
Okay.
then over the courthouse would be the contractors. And let me just say this. There is activity with contractors in the morning because they like to get their permits early and get going for the day. But that would be less traffic for town hall, and the courthouse would be an appropriate venue. They have off-the-road parking. Nobody has to park across the street and cross like they might have to do here.
Okay.
It would be actually safer.
Okay.
Okay,
Mark, is
John, go
this something
ahead.
that you're thinking permanent?
I'm not even going to make a statement about whether I think it's permanent. I think that right now, that's what it's going to take to open up the town to, in anticipation that what could happen and how long this duration is. I didn't think that far ahead. This is what it's going to take to open up the town right now with a robust plan, taking into consideration all of the factors. And even if we had a backslide, this plan will still work, because we can still go back to people not coming in town hall. We can still protect the people for the inspections, because we don't know if there's going to be a second wave.
Right.
So,
One other question.
yeah.
Is this something that we can get reimbursed for the state for the alterations?
We believe, with the reading of the Gopher grant, that if we can relate what we're doing for renovations and our additional costs to accomplish a plan to reopen, we believe that it's reimbursable.
Yep, that was
I don't
gonna be
want
my
to say categorically everything's going to be covered. We are certainly going to try. And on that note, anecdotally, we received a check today for $72,000 for the first responders payment that you approved a while ago. So
Good.
it is working. That means that came in, we paid it out, we got it back in. So we are starting to see this. It's a big process. I would hope that most, or if not all, would be covered. That would be our intent.
I really like the plan.
You like the plan?
I do.
Okay,
Should have done that years ago.
okay. Well, it wasn't available,
Yeah.
but now it's available, and, I don't want to see something sit empty when we can actually increase the service to the public.
Right. So, Mark, I did misspeak. I reread this. what I meant to say was the recreation department and the safety department. Both of those are going to the courthouse.
Well, I didn't get to that part yet.
Okay, I was reading a little bit ahead.
Okay.
And I was just concerned if this is going to, if this, a lot of parents or time for registrations or whatever is going to exceed the capacity of the parking area within the courthouse. Do we have
Well,
any other alternatives?
So let me just say,
Okay,
today,
yeah,
we had the summer recreation program with the people that were applying for jobs, and they were here and met at the side door, and they were in and out on a irregular basis. I can't tell you that all the parents are going to show up and when they're going to show up, but let me just say that there's more capacity with that parking lot in
Okay.
that area than there is at Town Hall.
Okay.
And if this plan, if you follow this, which I didn't get to yet, my
Yep,
third priority
yep.
was that the courtroom side, which is a big side of that building, would be for the recreation. So do you want me to move ahead with reading my plan on the recreation?
yeah.
Before you do, just let me interrupt and make sure that I think you understand, and I'll get to you too, that I believe there's software that the rec department has that you can register online and you can do a whole
Right.
bunch of other stuff. Is that what you're going to say?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna
Yeah,
add.
okay, all right, so I think.
That
the
should
tra-
help cut down on the traffic
Yeah,
with
exactly,
a lot of
exactly.
the activities you can register and pay online. So-
Right.
All right, okay, sorry, Mark, go
So
ahead.
the third priority is to relocate the recreation department to a location that will provide for access for the public for recreation programs, signups, and activities. This will provide the recreation director and the recreation commission to have desks and office space to meet office hours again for programs. I think that there's certainly members of the recreation commission that are involved with the recreation director, and that's a small office there, and this opens this up now into a bigger space that they can just be more functional. Again, the move would be, probably August, unless I could do it sooner. It
Yep.
depends on that courtroom space. If I could do that sooner, then I would do it sooner. Minor renovations to the space is already going to be done with the building, the building safety. So it's not a duplicate effort, it's actually one effort to accommodate two departments.
Good.
So again, as soon as possible, probably August of 2020. Fourth priority, by the building safety being moved over there, what we have for a remainder on the third floor is the planning director, and he works every other Wednesday, and he works Fridays. He hasn't been in, he's been working from home because of, some other reasons. And he's able to do that, but in case that he does come in, I would propose a fourth priority is to convert, which doesn't mean that I'd have to change too much, I wouldn't have to change hardly anything, is to locate the document management project person, because I've had to tell her that she can't come to work. She can't do that project when this happened. So those hours have been, or the money, the funds have been appropriated. So that means that she can do more hours, more concentrated hours towards the end of the year once this happens, because she can just go to the third floor, not be there when the planning director's there, opposite hours. The files are already here in the building, the basement, the jail cells, access with those would go up and down the elevator, and the documents under the stage and in people's offices. So they're already here. The big scanner's on the third floor, the other scanner's on the third floor. There's no moves, there's no alterations, other than we would block the elevator out by code, that only with a certain code, someone could go to the third floor. If, for purposes of the access to this building, the elevator would be reprogrammed so people could use it to go from the first floor to the second floor for the meeting, and second floor to the first floor, unless you had the code to go to the third or the basement. So that's an easy one. So that's my, in summary, this plan will essentially make the town fully operational with respect to the public having controlled and limited access to the interior of both town hall and the courthouse, in the effort to continue the practice of social distancing and barriers to protect employees. The only public access in Town Hall will be the first floor town clerk and tax collector's office. Access to the second floor will be limited to assessing and controlled by Laurie in her office, who monitors the front lobby daily. Building safety will be a ground floor operation instead of a third floor. More robust department by having the inspectors available and established office hours. So one of the things that I'd like to see is some kind of established office hours for the building safety, where if a contractor, specific contractor or resident or business has a specific question, that they know they can set up and meet with the inspector. And I'm not saying that they can't now, they probably have to do it by the phone, but just have some kind of option for those types of office hours, which makes it more accessible. This will eliminate the previous foot traffic and elevator traffic to the third floor at the town hall. Parking for contractors and applicants has always been an issue at town hall. The courthouse parking will be able to handle the in and out traffic with ease. The recreation will have a separate ground floor operation and a more robust department by having the same type of setup as the, I won't read the memo verbatim. The records management would basically become more robust in itself and be better with the document management. And the planning director would remain on the third floor and work opposite hours. You know, I have been trying to come up with a plan, and I worked with Laurie, I worked with Greg, and I felt it was appropriate to at least move in the direction of a plan, and I wanted to bring it to the board since I saw the discussion about the courthouse, and I'd like you to support this. But, you know, this is, you know, you're the Board of Selectmen, and, you know, we're all in this together. And I thought that this would be a good step in the right direction.
So are there any more questions for Mark? Would you like a formal vote for this or a consensus?
Yeah, I'd like a formal vote.
Okay, yeah, probably best to cross Ts and dot Is. So could I have a motion on the floor to approve the use of the courthouse for the following departments?
So moved.
All right, thank you. All right. And may I have a second on that, please?
I second the motion.
All right, thanks, John. So go ahead, Jay, for discussion.
I like the plan that you put together. It's pretty thorough, pretty robust to reuse that. That's all I have to say. I think it's a good plan that we can utilize, so.
I agree.
And it'll help get this place open again, so.
Yeah. And we can always use a fallback position too if we have to, and that, I guess, the beauty of the plan. All right, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained?
Thank you very much. I
You're very welcome.
appreciate that
Thanks for
support.
doing all the work, for putting it together.
I think that it will be well received by the residents, the businesses, the contractors. You know, I think it has a lot of advantages for the people that have been inconvenienced, and I think that the registrations will go better for the downstairs and the tax collector, and I think, you know, we're ready to take that next step with the necessary precautions. And I think it shows that we're being responsible, and it shows that we're trying to open it up and become business as usual, but it's a very difficult time.
Yep.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
All right, you are so welcome. Thank you for doing the work. All right, so I'm going to sneak in one thing before we do the town manager's annual review. Unfortunately, I got this information this morning, and I apologize for not getting it onto the agenda this quickly, but apparently this is the 20th year anniversary of the Plaistow Public Library, and I know they had planned on doing this huge bash for the month of June, and unfortunately, COVID-19 intervened. So in lieu of parties and carousing and drinking and all that fun stuff, they asked us if we would read a proclamation. And so Mr. Talon is going to do the honors to do that.
Plaistow Public Library Proclamation. Whereas the Plaistow Public Library first opened to the public on January 2nd, 1897, in a room in the town hall with Miss Ethel Pollard as its first librarian. Whereas in 1965, the newly formed Friends of the Library Group incorporated the Plaistow Library Building Association in hopes of raising sufficient funds to move the library. Whereas the town of Plaistow purchased the A to Z Tool Company building on Elm Street for a sum of $35,000, which became the library in 1977. Whereas, as the town grew, the library's collection outgrew that building, and the town approved the purchase of land for a new dedicated library building in 1998. Whereas on this date, 20 years ago, June 24, 2000, the town, with the library director Laurie Houlihan, library trustee Kathy Emmons, state reps Center and Major, and Governor Shaheen formally dedicated the new state-of-the-art library building with a ribbon-cutting celebration. Whereas the mission of the Plaistow Public Library is to provide access to informational, educational, and entertainment resources to all members of its community, whereas libraries which promote the free exchange of information and ideas for all are a cornerstone of democracy, whereas libraries are a resource to all members of the community regardless of race, ethnicity, creed, ability, sexual orientation, gender, identity, or social economical status. And whereas in times of crisis like the current COVID-19 pandemic, the library continues to play a vital role in supporting the community and providing valuable service even while the building remains closed to the public. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Plaistow Select Board proclaim Plaistow Library Day as June 24th, 2020.
Thank you. And I think maybe I would like to see if we could have that written up on some kind of a plaque, if you guys are agreeable to that, and present it to the library.
Okay.
All right, so I'll work with Beth on that if you're
Okay.
good. Okay, all right, any comments, questions before we go on to the next agenda item? All right, the next agenda item is Mark's employment contract. According to his employment contract, he is entitled to an annual performance evaluation by the Board of Selectmen. And the board had crafted an evaluation process for him, and I just wanted to go over it with you just very, very briefly, and you're going to have a month to do this because I think our next meeting is July 13th, so you have a whole month to put this together. But basically, there are a number of categories that we are going to evaluate Mark on, and it's usually, these are categories that a board of directors would give to either a CEO or a president, but without the golden parachute, without the stock options, and without the corporate jet. That's the only thing that's missing. So if you could just maybe write job knowledge, write 1 or 2 sentences about how you feel his knowledge for his job as a town manager is, and go forth with all those other categories. If you feel that there's something that you would like to see him do better, or he needs to work on, that would be also an appropriate place to just put 1 or 2 sentences with regards to that. The other piece of it is short and long-term goals, and I have to confess that all the short-term goals that I've ever listed were already done and finished, and he had 10 more besides that. So, just do a couple of goals for him. If they're not already in process, they probably will be finished. And then the longer-term goals are usually beyond 1 year. So I'm thinking perhaps maybe the landfill is going to take several years to work through. So that might be a goal that you might want to list there. So if you would be so kind as to fill this out and give it to Beth, and Mark would have the option of either requesting to have his evaluation done publicly during this meeting, or he could go into non-public as employee reputation. So we will ask him his preference on that. But if you could give that information to Beth before our July 13th meeting, I would very much appreciate that. Go ahead, Julian.
To water under the bridge now because it's already doing it now, but I think in the future it'd be more appropriate to do it like a month before elections, whatever, because now we have Jay, who's only been a few months, and he's doing an evaluation for a year. Then we had people who maybe left office the previous year who don't get to put their input, who have worked with the town manager for a previous year. So I think the timing should be before, while
would you
the
do it?
current Board of Selectmen, who happened to be his employer at the time, can give an evaluation before they might be or not be the next year in office. We don't know.
Yeah, unfortunately, the
Right
way
now, we
his,
have a new person who's really
Yeah.
haven't got much work. With the COVID-19, probably even less opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And you're asking him to do a full year evaluation. So
Yeah,
I'm just
it's
saying,
good-
the
it's a
timing
good-
could be better in the future.
I can do a partial.
It's a good point. Unfortunately, though, the way his contract reads, it's an annual review, and his contract started July 1st. So it's kind of like our trash contract. It's
Yeah.
sort of in the middle of the year, but that's something definitely for us to
Well, it
think
could
about
be
and
amendable
discuss.
to his, we're doing it now this year.
Right,
But in
right.
the future, if he would be amenable to it makes more sense.
Sure.
Since it's his contract.
Yeah, right, exactly. All right, so if you guys
Well,
don't,
if that's the case, we can open the renegotiations for my contract?
we just said no corporate jet, no stock options, no golden parachute.
We have no airport.
None of the above.
You didn't know about the helicopter?
I'd be willing to renegotiate.
Yes, I'm sure.
Helicopter lands on the landfill.
Yeah, no, but then we'd have to get a helipad, so no, none of those things. Okay, so if you don't have any questions on that, I am going to move forward to the town manager's report.
Well, thank you. So there's a couple things here for housekeeping. I think I just want to let you set the agenda for how you want to handle it. There is a donation here, letter, a draft. So is that something that you want?
Actually, I was going to address that in my other business.
Okay, then I'll put that
So we can hold
aside.
off on that, yep.
I'll put that aside. There's another one for equipment for remote meetings, and the reason why this is before you right now is that we have been trying to fix what we discovered with the virtual meetings here, and we have a contractor that we had to bring in, and the contractor is working on making these meetings more accessible, and that box really is not gonna work long-term. So that contractor is coming in, but in the meantime, I was forced to make a decision as your town manager to authorize Dean to go ahead, because of the emergency here, to contract with a company to come in for these two lists of equipment that total $8,185. So if there was a motion by the board to authorize the cable operator to do that, I know it's after the fact, but, you know, this is an emergency to comply with 91A and for board members to participate in meetings. And we believe this will be covered, and we will apply for it to be covered. And I just say that because, you know, there's gonna be a lot of requests from a lot of people in the state, and I don't want to go and say that everything's going to be covered. We will certainly hope for everything to be covered. So if the board is amenable to making a motion to authorize the cable coordinator to spend $8,185 for the purchase of the necessary equipment for the meeting room here at Town Hall, and authorize me to sign any paperwork related thereto, that would be a good motion to make.
And now, if it should not be covered by either the Gopher grant,
Then we would
You do
use
it
the
out of the
cable,
cable?
we would use
Okay.
the cable funds.
Okay.
We would actually use the cable funds right now, and then apply for reimbursement, and then put the cable funds back.
all righty, do you guys have any questions on that? All right, could someone put a motion on the floor, please?
All right, I'll make a motion that we authorize the cable coordinator to expend $1,639 to access AV and $6,546 for specific equipment, for a total of $8,185, and that we would also direct the town manager to sign and negotiate whatever contracts is necessary.
I'll
Great,
second that.
thank you. All righty. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? All right, that motion carries 500. And I guess in tandem with that, Mark, you also gave us an email from Julian requesting some notebooks with regards to, you know, the issue with people not being able to hear. So I guess my question to Julian and to you is that something that we even need at this point if this equipment is going to take care of the problem? And it's more towards Julian than anybody else. Do you think we need this email?
Well, I was just asking, the didn't ask to do it, it asked if funding
Yeah.
from COVID-19 could be used for. That's all it asked.
Right, right, but I mean, is it not, it's at a moot point at this juncture? Because he's already made the initial purchases of the equipment for it, so.
There was no knowledge that was going to
Right,
happen.
no, I understand that, but I think this is probably
Yep.
to be put aside, because this would only address Board of Selectmen meetings.
Yep.
And obviously, there's other boards and committees that would meet here, so even though we would have notebooks, other committees, it would still be the same problem, so,
Yeah, so we're still using personal computers to do town business for one thing.
right.
And
Well,
that's
you
always
could-
been a discussion.
You may, each
Yeah.
selectman may request a notebook or a tablet, so that is totally up to you guys if you want to do it. Go ahead.
So I believe the intent of this was for use for when you are not present. You wouldn't be using it while you are present.
Well, actually,
correct?
you would, because everybody would have their own mic. It doesn't affect these mics. It affected the online, because
Okay,
for
we
two
have
meetings,
we have
Mark couldn't
equipment.
tell what we were doing.
Right, we have equipment, and we have
Yeah.
a cable coordinator
Yeah.
that's taking care of the communication within this room. So the only purpose of having a notebook would not be to be doing doing your meeting on the notebook. It would be doing it at home. And most of us have computers and webcams to be able to accomplish that. Having a tablet does give you the ability of doing either, doing it at home or doing it here, but I don't see why we would do it here. I think that we should let Dean take care of this and get this thing resolved correctly. We don't need to be all setting up computer connections into a meeting. Do you right now have a?
So
have
then the
a,
question could be modified to, if we choose to get the tablet instead of a phone, can that be
Yes.
funded, or does
So-
it have to come out of our budget somewhere?
So that has always been an option for all of you, is that you can either have a phone or a tablet.
Right.
So that, nothing has changed there. That, I thought everybody knew that that was an option, and that's still an option. But, you know, this is the board's prerogative.
Okay.
If all of you want laptops, that's a board decision, you know?
So I did that, Julian, I initially had a phone, and it was just not working.
Yep.
And so I returned the phone and got a tablet, and it's much, much better.
All right, the
That
tablet
way.
with the keyboard and everything, because I'm not much of an on-screen tablet user. I never could get used to using it, creating documents.
All right, so it
Keyboard and
is.
mouse is still, it's ingrained in my brain, I guess.
Yeah.
So it is your option. If you wish to get one, please,
Okay,
let
thank you
Mark
very
know,
much.
and you would be absolutely entitled to that.
Thank you very much.
All right, so go ahead, Mark, continue with your report.
So a couple pieces of correspondence. So the governor and council last week passed the first part of the grant. They broke the grant out into two components, and one was the Drinking Water Trust Fund, which is about the half of the total amount, so it's in the $5.5 million range. And part of that was the funding for the Sweet Hill tank. And on Friday, I had a meeting, and I signed the final documents for the contract and issued the contract for the $1.3 million for the tank. And they have their notice to proceed for today and their building permit, so that is in motion right now. In about a month, they'll have the land cleared, and they will set up for a ceremony, a breaking ground ceremony. And we're going to be working on that, and there will be, will be advertised, and we'll be inviting quite a few people, and of course, the board will be there. So we are working on it. And I think that's monumental, because that is, the groundbreaking. And then there's other things happening simultaneously. There is a pre-bid meeting for the 15,000 lineal feet of all of the road construction for the water line pipe. And that is out, and the bids are due back by July 9th. And then there'll be a contract that will be awarded for that. And then we will go into non-public to talk about another subject tonight, related to water, and then the final part will be the contract for the MTBE, which will be the other part of the grant that has to do with the other money for MTBE. So we are moving along, and there's actually going to be shovels in the ground. They could have been up there today starting to clear the trees, so
Excellent.
I just wanted to let you know that. So there's a notice of the award in your package, and we're moving ahead. So the other thing I have is that there was a discussion on the June 1st Board of Selectmen meeting pertaining to the speed limit on Route 121A. Part of the discussion ended up on the police department's radar trailer. Selectman Talon asked a question about if the trailer records data, and I said that I didn't know, but I didn't believe it did. Selectman Kieska stated that he remembers Chief Jones saying the radar trailer can track data, so I needed to go back and research that and get back to the board, so I'm getting back to the board with the answer. So back in February, ironically, Chief Mullen brought to my attention that there was 2 radar trailers that were out in the woods behind the station. And he pulled them out of the woods, and he cleaned them up, and he put batteries in them, and he found out they were wired wrong, and then he put them back into service, and he had them out there. So you may have seen the trailers out there. So he did inform me at that time that the trailer that's a 2001, which is the bigger of the 2, and they look new because they've been cleaned up, has an old computer system because that's almost 20 years old. And I asked if the data, I again checked with them about the recording, can they do any data? And the question the answer I got at the time was, well, we're really not sure. We're looking for the computer, we're looking for some parts, and we gotta call the radar company and so forth. So I attached an email, ironically, that's dated February 25th. And it's from Sarah on behalf of the chief, and it's the last page. And, we were talking to Custom Signal, which is where the trailer is. So we were on top of this back in February, and they had quoted that in order to do the computer kit, at that time, they said, you're looking at about $2,500 plus shipping. So, I just want to tell you that right now, that the trailer is out there flashing a speed, but it's not recording any data. So it's of no use to us to say, is there speeding cars or trucks, or what time, or whatever. I mean, I hate to say it, but I mean, that's the reality. And it would be more useful that if you had the data you could retrieve, because you may be able to say between these hours, we have speeding vehicles, and this is the really fast time, and this is not a fast time, or it can verify whether there's actually any speeding going on. So, since this was brought up, I figured I'd give you all the information, and then I'd ask you, and I even prepared a motion for you, to motion to expend up to $3,500 for the computer kit. I wanted some latitude from the $2,500 to see what we get and so forth, and the shipping, because I don't know what that would be, and plus whatever it takes to get it working, because it's a 20-year-old trailer, there's a little bit of retrofitting. For the Plaistow Police Department's 2001 Custom Signal Inc. white radar trailer, including software to retrieve data and to authorize the town manager to sign any and all associated paperwork. So, we know what the problem is. We know what the solution is. It was brought up. I'm giving you all of the information in your package, and it's your decision.
Okay, go ahead, Julian.
Yeah, you're talking about the trailers on the wheels, right?
Yes.
Okay, but what about the sign that's like down on Main Street that flashes?
Doesn't keep data. Nope.
Chief Jones implies, she says, because it was asked her in that meeting when she was before us, it was asked, well, do you think those signs work? And she came right up, oh yeah, they're slowing down. It shows, the data showed that it was slowing down. People were slowing down when they saw it flashing. So that's where I got that, it was doing that. How else would you know that? But, yes, so I'm glad thank you for doing all the research.
All right, so if the board just has no more questions for Mark, and I believe that's going to come out of the contingency fund,
and-
because it's an
And
unanticipated expense.
it's unanticipated. It was
Yeah.
not in the 2020 budget. We didn't
Right.
know this till February.
Right.
I think it's always good when you pull trailers out of the woods and put them out there to work. I still think that they work as a deterrent, and they've been around town. In fact, we had rewired the solar chargers on the battery so that they wouldn't have to come in for the recharges often, and to do that, and we move them around from school to streets, complaints, and, you know, it's a valuable tool. And there has been no money expended from the contingency, so it's 80,000 in there.
Yeah.
And I would like to see a motion for 3,500. If you wanted to be more generous, you could make it 4,000, so we could really make sure we get all the bells and whistles with this.
Go ahead, Greg.
So my question is, that'll take care of both trailers?
Nope.
Just
Only one trailer?
So only one trailer has the components in there to retrieve data. The other one,
The other
it was
one does
not built.
not.
The other one just does the speed, and that's all it was designed for. It doesn't have the components in there to do this.
So do we have two trailers
Two trailers.
plus the sign on Main Street?
We got 2 signs on Main Street
Okay.
One on North
And two
Avenue too,
separate
right?
trailers?
and 2 separate trailers.
And so we're only going to take care of one trailer?
Correct.
Okay.
And we're not going to tell the citizens which trailer has the right.
We're not gonna
no.
tell them that the blue trailer does not have the data.
That's right, we're not going to say that. That's exactly right. Okay,
Because it's not blue.
so, go ahead, Jay.
Do we also own the one on Greeno, going towards the high school?
That's a third one that he just brought
Yeah,
up.
that's
and,
right, I
and-
forgot about
and-
that, yeah.
Yeah, so
And there's one out on Forest, I believe, going out towards 108, near the, where the gas line is. There's one
Yeah.
out there.
Okay, well,
So those newer, they're newer, obviously, than the 20-year-old one. Do those have a connection to retrieve data over the last week or
I have
something?
no idea. I don't see how they can,
Yeah, they're
because
too little.
all it
They're
is
too
just a
little.
light.
Yeah,
There's no
yeah.
box for any kind of computer, so I don't know how it could.
But
Interesting,
anyway,
'cause I know you're trying to collect the data to where they will try to stop. If they knew that everyone was stopping at this time, this is when the speeding was going, that's when you could basically set up to catch people.
and this is the first step towards our discussion that we had
Yes.
last time about looking at speed limits on 121A. So if you want to just wrap it up, or you want to put
Yes,
a
I just
motion on the
want
floor?
to add one thing. I know Peter Teresian was brought up
Yes.
last meeting. He's still working with the DOT to see what kind of options there are to
Okay.
help us out. There are many options at the table, and I don't want to, he's still working on it.
Okay.
And it doesn't mean not necessarily changing the speed limit. I've talked to him, but I don't want to put forth anything because it sounds like a promise if you do. But he's working on other options that may be able to help us in the speed control.
And this is the first step to provide documentation, I
Yes.
think. So go ahead, Jay.
Go ahead.
So if this is the first step to provide documentation, is there like a plan being developed to to do a traffic study?
Can I?
Traffic study where?
May I interject in that? Because in 2011, the planning board did do a traffic study, and I know that was almost 10 years ago. It's incredibly expensive. I think it was like 30 grand at that time. So that's probably the last place we want to go. So my thought is, let's see what we get in for data, and then we can move forward with a plan once we see what we're looking at. Go
I
ahead,
think
Julian, I'm
what
going
you're
to let you
saying is
do one more, and then we're going to vote.
It's going to help law enforcement know where to look for the
Yep.
problem if it exists.
Right.
Which right now, you don't have enough police cars to patrol every street. So it's just an aid for them to figure out where the problems are.
Okay, go ahead,
So
Greg.
just a real short. It seems like our units, we should have a future plan
Yep.
to get some of these additional units upgraded. So I definitely would support a warrant article to either replace some of those old ones or to upgrade them if we can get that information. But the comment that Jay made, I think just collecting the speed will in effect be part of a study.
Right.
To get some
It's
real
our own.
data to us or to the police force for them to decide how they want to patrol that and whether or not speeding is occurring and whether it's not occurring.
So my understanding is that to buy a new radar trailer with the prices that have increased over time, as they do, and the technology, you might be looking at $20,000 to $25,000 to $30,000 for a new trailer. I think that this investment of $4,000 for this one to be retrofitted works quicker, and we don't spend as much.
Oh, I'm 100% in support of this.
Yeah.
And I will make a motion to support this.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But I'm just saying,
In the future.
in the future.
Sure.
We should look to put a plan together to get more than one device.
Sure.
Okay, last comment is Jay, before we put a motion on the floor. Go ahead.
So are the trailers now, are they being utilized? Are they out
Yes.
every week?
Yes.
Somewhere around
In
town?
fact, the white one, I don't think has returned after we put batteries in it, because we just move it from location to location. The blue one, I just saw it there the other day, so they will move them out and move them back, and they're moving them all the time.
All right.
I'm surprised if you haven't seen them around
I
town
am too,
in
yeah.
different locations. I mean, we're
yes.
moving them.
They're all over
Every
the
time we
place.
get a complaint, we bring the trailer, you know?
All right, great. Okay, so may I have a motion on the
I'll make a
floor?
motion that we allocate $4,000 from the contingency fund to purchase necessary computer gear to upgrade one of the radar trailers so we can start collecting data.
Actually, the motion is on page 2
Oh,
of that
I
thing,
didn't-
so you
I
can
didn't
read it
notice.
verbatim, and it's a
Okay.
little bit more specific. Sorry.
With the number change.
Sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
I like your number, though.
Motion to expend up to $4,000 for the computer kit for the Plaistow Police Department 2001 Custom Signals Incorporated White Radar Trailer, including software to retrieve data, and to authorize the town manager to sign any and all associated paperwork.
Excellent. May I have a,
For the research, Mark.
yep, and may I have a second on that, please?
I'll second it.
All right. All right, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain?
Please don't
Motion
speed.
carries. Yeah, motion carries 500, but are we offline right now? No, okay, great. Okay, so please continue, Mark, with the rest of your report.
Okay, I think I might be at the paperwork now.
Actually, you always provide us with the town manager's report, so if you just want to just bullet some of
Abbreviated
this stuff,
version?
because we've already read it.
Okay.
I don't think we need to reread it
Okay,
again.
salt shed RFP, I'll just make it real brief. I'll just go through each one. You can read the details. What am I waiting for there? I'm waiting for the foundation plan, certified foundation plan before we sign the contract, and then we'll dig the foundation, and then we'll excavate for the foundation, and then the footings and the foundation will be put in. Landfill cap, working with Kelly from Sanborn Head, and they located the utility company, and the utility company is working on replacing the poles at the landfill, because that was an issue of concern. Water project, I think that you know exactly what we're doing. I signed a contract on 1.385 million for the Sweet Hill tank last Friday, and they're starting work almost immediately. The Governor and Council approved 5.835 million on June 10th. The East Road Pump House we'll talk about in non-public. Pollard Park sidewalk replacement, so as you can see, the binder coat is
Did a
down.
great
The
job.
Cape Cod,
Yep.
that's not done. We're
I know,
gonna
it
be
looks
doing a
good.
finish coat. Then there'll be the loom up to the sidewalk, and we'll put some additional stones inside the berm. And we did take out the stumps over here on this side and some bushes, and that were already cut down. Yes, yes.
That's what, I know it's probably addressed, but I want to have it happen later on and find out it wasn't. The finish coat is going to be at least thick enough so that it matches up with the sidewalks, because it's like a step up to every outside sidewalk from the current pavement. It's lower by about an inch than,
That's why they're gonna put the finish coat down.
that's what
so
I'm
it's-
asking.
So it
Yeah.
blends
I don't
in.
know how thick the finish coat is. Okay.
Right, and then out there on the, from Park Ave on Elm Street down to Main Street, the curbing has a reveal, like this right here. I think that the sidewalk kind of settled a little bit, so they're gonna come and shim that when they're doing here, and they're gonna shim that whole sidewalk down, so there's not a edge right there that's exposed, and they're gonna do that. That was that additional cost of like $1,800. But when you have that sidewalk machine here to put
Might as
that
well
down,
use it.
now's the time to
Yep.
do it. So, that plus everything interior that you see, this has really come along well, and it's gonna actually be very timely for the concert time later on in the year, with the exception of there'll be some grass planting, but we'll stake that off and so forth, and keep the social distancing, so that shouldn't be an issue. But we're gonna be growing grass, and we'll get there.
Yeah,
I mean, that's easy.
I only brought it up because it's like, let's say it didn't happen, why didn't you say something?
No,
But
yeah.
I like the curbing you put around the round stones, around the
Yep.
gazebo, whatever, and along the side.
So the 125 islands, we've taken out all of those bushes that were really a collection point for everything, leaves and trash and debris and so forth. They were out there today. The machine that they rented broke down. They'll be back out there. It's now digging the roots out, and they're gonna be planting conservation grass, and they'll be able to cut it, and they'll be able to keep the islands in much better shape.
Just a quick question.
Yes,
So we're gonna mow the grass?
Yes.
On there? So we have equipment, obviously, we have equipment to do
yes.
that? Okay.
We actually have a stand-up mower that they use at the cemetery for tight quarters and stuff, so we have a variety of lawnmowers that we can use, and it catches the grass, and we can take care of it.
Okay. Thank you.
Public safety antenna, so we're still working on that, but the big thing that you should know is that our consultant told us that there needed to be a room built in the garage where the radio equipment is, and we had to install some temperature control equipment, basically heat and air conditioning unit for the room, and the room has to be kept dust-free, and we got 2 doors on it, and we got the room built, and we're just finishing that up now. Obviously, the equipment, by not having temperature control, it will fail. So this was an important thing to do. We hired somebody to do it, and we put the AC unit, heat and AC unit in, and it was paid for from the remaining funds from the public safety bond. So we're still working on that. I don't have any new information on the antenna. We're still waiting for those people to get back to us on the fix for the antenna. The police auction, we got a couple days to go, and right now.
Before you go to the auction, what do you need to get a retainer agreement with Peter Canute?
We haven't discussed it yet. We're gonna talk.
Are you gonna provide us one, or are you going to?
Yeah, I have to have a discussion with Peter. He has retainer agreements with other people, so I just wanted to make the board aware that I thought going forward, we should have a retainer agreement with him so
Absolutely.
that he can help us. But I don't have that, and I'm not real worried about it. It's just that I want to tell you that that's what we'll have someday, and I want him to get through this. I want him to come here and tell you.
Yeah, don't lo-
And then you
don't-
can ask questions, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, let's not lose him.
Yes,
Oh,
we
no.
won't, we won't.
No, no, he has saved us
Tons of money.
tens of thousands of dollars.
Yep.
So the auction is up over 10,000 right now. There's 2 days to go. I anticipate that number's gonna go up. That money's gonna go in the general fund. And,
Do you need a motion
Yes.
on the floor to do the
yes.
additional? Yes.
Yes,
all
so
right.
there's additional stuff that we found in the garage over there, and they're the cell doors and the bars, and the door and the slide and the bars. And we found 2 sets, and we actually found that there was a 3rd set that somebody gave somebody permission to take it. And we've contacted the person that took it and said, no, you didn't have permission to take it, so you need to return it. And that was somebody that shouldn't have given permission, because this is the board's stuff and it's town property.
Go ahead, Jay.
Are these the original bars from down in the
No,
basement?
no, the ones in the basement are still there.
Okay.
But if you want to auction those off, we can take those out too. No.
I might bid on one of
We
them
want to use them. What are you
myself.
talking about?
So I would like a general motion to allow the board, to allow the police department to add more town-owned property that is surplus over at the police department and in the garage, and to be added to St. Jean's auction and have them sell, and all the proceeds go to the general fund.
All right, I'll make a motion to authorize the police department to dispose of the additional surplus town property, and that the funds are through auction, and that the funds would be added to the general fund / unassigned fund balance.
I'll second that.
All righty. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstain? Motion carries 500.
So the temporary signs are put up there on 121A North Main Street by the forest. I'm sure if you drove by, you saw them on both sides. Those are enforceable because we got that power from the state.
DOT.
And we're working towards the final permanent signs, and the state did not object, and they're going to provide those signs, and they're going to put those up there, okay?
Great.
The electronic radar signs on South Main Street and North Main Street that we talked about, we have an MOU, and I signed it with the DOT. We have made those signs come into compliance. It was a matter of just some signage issues there. We took care of that. We have an MOU, and we're responsible for the maintenance of them like we were before. So that is all set. The police chief took care of all the details with that, and we're moving on. Summer recreation program has been scheduled. Laurie is working with the part-time recreation director, and they're going to have it for 6 weeks, beginning July 6th. And they worked with the fire inspector, and they're trying to comply with all of the requirements for the day camp advisory, and they're working on it, and they're going to try to make it work. Did I see your hand, Selectman?
Yeah, John, no. Yeah, you're scratching your head.
The IT changeover has happened, and we're working through things, nothing major, but we're,
Don't we have a pretty serious email issue? The delay in receiving email messages?
well,
This actually happened just as the Aman was aware that we were moving over to this new.
Right. So I would just say that any, if you notice anything, just bring it to Laurie and Greg's, because I've delegated that to them to be the point of contact with our vendor, so that if you have any issues, let them know, and they'll bring them up to our vendor.
Okay, we've been communicating that in the past couple of meetings, that
Right,
we've been not
right.
getting email and not getting things from yourself
Right,
and
right,
various.
right. I will continue to follow up on it
Okay.
too as well.
Julian, go
I
ahead.
just want to clarify, so we can contact Lori or Greg if we have a problem with our email?
Oh, absolutely.
Like, I haven't been able to
Absolutely.
open attachments lately. Right.
So, go ahead,
Who do
John.
we call if our cell phone doesn't work right?
Well, did you get it at the Verizon store?
No, I got it right here, and anytime I had a problem, I used to call Armand, Francine.
Verizon has not been terribly helpful, because I've had problems with my phone too, and I think the last time you had a problem with it, you went to Verizon, they were useless, so,
So Laurie would be
All
the
right.
contact person, Laurie and Greg, and I can tell you that they've been working with corporate Verizon, and what they found out is that we should have been on a government contract, and we weren't. The net result's going to be, because we are going to be converting to a government contract, is we are going to save $500 a month on our phone bill.
Wow, that's
starting as soon as they get us on that. Now, that's not answering your question, but we will be getting to the bottom of any issues we have with Laurie and Greg, but please contact Laurie or Greg. Laurie's on vacation this week, though. She did come in today. She canceled her vacation to come in for the recreation signups today, but she's going to take the rest of the week.
go ahead, Julian.
Yeah, along that line, you were talking before about the ability to call a town number and then go to our personal cell phone without our personal cell phone number being given up, which was the reason I had a town phone, 'cause I didn't want to give up my personal cell phone number.
So that has to do with Comcast, that was going to take over our phone system,
Yeah.
which is also in process. So not only we're working on IT, we're working on our phones,
Yeah.
and we're working on our town phone system. So we have major changes all going on simultaneously. Comcast has that business plan that would allow your number to be accessed without them knowing it was your private phone.
In that case, I won't need my town cell phone number anymore.
And you can get a tablet.
And I can get a tablet.
There you go.
See how it all works
Problem
together?
solved.
Now I
Problem
have
solved.
both, people can
coming
call me
together.
and I can do town business on a tablet.
Well, I could skip the next one because I just said about the Verizon cell phones for a 30% discount. T-Mobile cell antenna, they're a tenant at will. I gave you all the amounts there. We're in negotiations with them. Our goal is to bring them up to the to the lease amount that AT&T is on our system. And then following that, there'll be Verizon. And we're gonna, when their contract comes up for renewal, we're gonna bring them up to the same amount. Our goal is to have people paying the same amount on the tower monthly, annually, and so forth. And to also get a payment towards the maintenance of the tower, which we've got one payment and we want the others to pay. The May expenditures, some departments are down. Some are doing okay. Overall, we're right at the pinch point of where the percentage is supposed to be. We're monitoring it more closer this year than previous years. We're monitoring it earlier in the year. So we don't know where we'll be because there's some unknowns about the reimbursements, but we're early in the year. We think we're gonna work through those reimbursements, and have a better idea later in the year, but we are paying attention to everything, and we're not there yet with the cash flow because we don't know what's coming in for the percentage of taxes, but we'll let you know next month. I'll let you know. I'll have a pretty good idea. We don't believe that there's gonna be a dramatic drop. We do not think so. And there's things happening at the state, talking about the the road.
Rooms and meal tax.
With rooms and meals,
block
and then
grants, yeah.
the block grant.
Yeah.
And, they're still talking about it, and, I don't want to speculate right now, so there's a lot of things going on. And it's not just with Plaistow, it's the whole state. So there's discussions going on, and I'll let you know when they finally nail it down. I don't like to react too early until the discussion has been had and they make the decision, because there's no sense us talking about what could happen. Let's wait and see what does happen, and then we'll deal with it. Park project, I got an email today, they're still working on locating the irrigation on the plan so that they don't tear it up. They've had the irrigation contractor out there. The last email I saw about 4:30 today was that they're putting all that information on the plan so that it can go out for RFP. So it's not happening soon enough for me, but,
Jay, did you have a question, or no? No. Okay.
Meeting room, electronic equipment, I think we're all set. Trash dumpster issue. Mr. Poliquin, who owns a property over here on Main Street, contacted me about a long-ago dumpster problem. He tells me that before my arrival, there was an agreement with JRM to empty the dumpster twice a week, and that's not happening, and the tenant's trash is overflowing. I asked Beth to research the town records and contract for JRM for a written agreement on the issue. We can't find any. You still haven't found any?
Not yet.
So, does the board have any historic knowledge of this, and can you give me guidance?
Yeah, go ahead, Jay.
I'm still new, but in my research on the trash contracts, I did come across a memorandum of understanding from 2016. I don't know if there was one for the previous JRM contract.
Is that for
prior-
this property?
Huh?
Is that for this property?
I
No.
don't recall it being on there,
Okay.
and the one that I saw recently.
Okay.
So it could have been part of the original one, I don't know, but there was this memorandum of understanding that went along with the trash contract.
About dumpsters over here on Main Street?
I don't recall specifically if it was
Okay.
those dumpsters.
But I reviewed it also because Jay and I are working on the trash RFP, and unfortunately, that MOU has not been really followed for the last 4 years. So all of the requirements and the things that JRM said they were going to do, they have not done so. But go ahead,
I
Julian.
have a question. How much was Mr. Poliquin paying extra to have them come twice a week?
I have no idea.
I mean, I don't think they would just do it
What-
for free.
What he told me is that there was this larger dumpster that originally was there, but because of the size and the truck and not being able to empty it, they agreed to do a smaller dumpster and just service it twice a week. And that lasted for about a week when they did it. They were supposed to do it twice a week. It lasted for a week, and then it didn't last. Therefore, he gets one pickup and the trash is overflowing. So
Okay.
he contacted me. But I have found in my experience as town managers, sometimes there's other things out there that no one ever tells me about. So before
Okay.
I go and do anything, I like to ask and say, do you know anything about this so that you can help me? Because some things aren't written down.
I know. So is it possible for us to have JRM do a second pickup during the week for them? And
If,
We
I
should.
didn't want to overstep my bounds,
Yeah.
but if that's what the board has a consensus to do, we can contact JRM and ask them to do that in the spirit of the contract, if
Yeah.
that's what
Yeah.
was decided a while ago.
Yeah, because that is a huge eyesore, and it's right across the street from the town hall, so, go ahead, Jay.
Did they have any recollection of that agreement, JRM?
I reached out to Peter and I don't have a response yet.
And obviously, Mr. Poliquin doesn't have any documentation, I'm guessing, right?
He doesn't.
I asked him if there was in writing, and he said he thought that it was, but, again, I
Yeah.
don't have anything.
All right, go ahead, Julian, yeah.
Your comment about an eyesore, if there's just a dumpster still sitting there, it's still the same, because I walk by that every day, and I can smell the trash walking down the sidewalk. And I didn't know why a dumpster is right at the sidewalk on the side of the street in front of Town Hall. It just,
It may be because the truck can't get access otherwise, but that's also a good question to bring up,
yeah, it just,
yeah.
is there another solution to that? Because it's still going to be
An
what you-
eyesore,
what you
yeah,
said.
yeah.
And it does, when some of the trash that's getting in there is pretty raw, and you can smell it when it's hot weather when you walk by it.
Jay, did you have a comment or a question, or?
I'm just reading an email.
Okay,
Hold on.
all righty. And Greg, did you want
Is
to?
somebody telling you a history on
Just a
that?
question I can.
No, I had an email with some of the trash contract information in it. It had a bunch of attachments, so I'm just looking through it now.
Go ahead, Greg.
Because we're talking about trash, the research that you and Jay have been doing, will that be presented to the board before we have to make a decision on the
Way
new trash?
before. Yes, Jay, I will compliment him when it comes time to our reports, but my plan was to do all the research, and on our July 13th meeting is present all the information to you. You guys need to help us make a decision before we even develop the RFP first.
Okay.
So once you guys decide how you want to structure the RFP, then we'll throw it together, ship it over to Mark and Sumner, and I'm hoping that we should be able to send that out by the end of July.
Okay.
Because we're going to need that information for our budget season, because we're getting close to
getting
that
very
too.
close,
So yes,
right.
we are on top of that.
Yep, thank you.
All right, so Jay, I'm going to move forward, and if you have something, just give us a yell, okay?
For it.
All right, go ahead, Mark.
Okay, so we done with that? We're
Yep.
gonna contact, we'll contact Peter and ask him. I think I got a sense from the board that we should work on a solution so that that trash isn't overflowing. And it should be picked up twice a week.
Okay, thank you.
So staffing, we brought one person back part-time, one resigned and took another job. The two others are crossing guards, so they're on summer vacation, and one is a part-time cleaner that took another job. Oh, no, that's a part-time cleaner that we didn't bring back right now. Working from home, it varies. A bunch of us are working from home. I come into the town garage on weekends when town hall's closed. That's working out good. We had meeting there on Friday when town hall was closed, so that meeting room, I asked Dean to research putting one of these cameras up there so that as we have these go-to meetings, and maybe that needs to be used, that room would become more functional if we had to have some other board or you decide to go there. But our water meetings, we had 5 people there and we had 3 on the phone. And that's probably what it's gonna be like going into the future. We're gonna probably have two resident engineers over there working, one out of my office and one out of the water office for the duration of this project. They may take their stuff and go out to the conference table and work there. We have Wi-Fi so that they can do that, but that's gonna be command central for the water project going forward, okay? So some of us are working opposite hours. We're still trying to maintain, our offices and the integrity of our offices. We're cleaning our own offices. Instead of having cleaning people come into our offices, we feel that that's a better practice right now. So most of that stays the same. We don't have any sickness right now. We're still following the drive-through at the fire department and screening employees like the board tonight. We have everything in place. I think we're doing really well. I know the numbers in Plaistow are 42 with 8 active. Unfortunately, we've had some fatalities. I think it's 3. But I think we're maintaining our status quo. But I did hear from people that some of the numbers are picking up. So we're gonna wait and see. Hiring. I hired a full-time New Hampshire certified officer who will start on June 29th. This is the 3rd certified officer we've hired with that $10,000 bonus. It's working. Plaistow Police Department is attracting good candidates from other departments, and this is a money saver for the town. So we also have the 2 people in the academy. The academy is both here in Plaistow and at the academy, and they're in their 6th week of 14, and we have no reason to believe there's any issue, and they're passing their tests, and they're going through the academy, and we are now running a police academy in Plaistow.
Cool.
Good.
Yes.
Mark, could we ask that the new police officer and also Police Officer Ryan Ghani be brought to the board so we can congratulate them
Yeah,
for his
so,
promotion?
as you know, bringing people before the board kind of stopped around March 2nd, which was the customary thing to do, and I would be doing it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I mean, I've hired, several people because of the numbers and for key positions, but I didn't feel it'd be appropriate because we weren't even really meeting, and I was remote and so forth. Now, certainly they want to come here, but because of the circumstances, it's been, they haven't been able to come here with their
maybe you could-
families.
Maybe you could help me understand. I was under the impression that the governor's proclamation number 17 expired today.
Yeah.
And so that allows meetings of more than 10.
Oh, that may be, but
So
I didn't.
that's why I asked the question, because I've been following all the proclamations, and the last one, which was 49, had had a number of the proclamations expiring on, what is it, the
June
21st?
15th, yeah.
June 15th, rather. So as of today, I haven't seen any new things to extend them any further. So as far as I understand, we could start opening things up a little bit.
I believe
And
there's
I-
still social distancing, though.
Well,
That's what the issue
And
is.
we absolutely could do that. But I think it's a really, really important thing to bring our new police officers, especially an officer who's made a promotion, to bring him to the board so we can offer our congratulations and a welcome to the new officer. I think that was a wonderful ceremony, a wonderful thing that you did. And could we look into see whether we could still do that?
Yes, so we need a bigger venue, because when the families come,
Yep.
this room's going to fill. I mean, we had two police officers come here, and there has a lot of family members. They were all seated here. We're going to need a bigger venue. So I don't know where that bigger venue is that you want to do this.
Well, I guess what I'm trying to question is that, do we still have to do 10?
No, but I think we
So
got
we
the
don't have
social
to do-
distancing
So
and the screening still
It
going
was my
on.
understanding that
Bring one.
Bring one in each
one
meeting.
at a time. But it was my understanding that they allowed up to 50 people, but still with social distancing.
Yep.
So obviously, 50 people would never fit in this room using that
Right.
standard.
And if we
so
brought one off.
one at a time would probably
One at
work.
a time.
And
their
limit the
family and
amount,
spread them
right.
out on the table,
Well-
we could handle it.
Could we do it, because there's so many, I think
Yeah.
it's going to take me 6 months to do it
Okay.
if I only bring one in a
Do it
meeting.
outside.
We will love it.
Well, how about if I arrange for the meeting, I'll ask for the meeting to be, your next meeting in July, to be at a bigger venue, and we can accommodate all of the people there. In fairness, let's get them all in at one time and do it then, and I will try to get a bigger venue.
What about virtual? That's really not quite the same thing. All
Well,
right,
I'd like
yeah.
to ask the Timberlane School District if we could use the Performing Arts Center.
That would be great.
How about that? And then we'd have enough social distancing, because I think it's very important.
I agree.
That we recognize the people that are getting hired or promoted and have their families here, you know. So it was certainly never my intent not to bring them here. It's just that the circumstances have prevented that from happening.
Yep.
I know that that's customary. I know the board looks forward to it. I look forward to it. The families look forward to it. So I can tell you that the next item is Master Police Officer Ryan Garney was promoted effective today, but there'll be a promotional ceremony because he wanted to bring his family, and they're coming over to the Public Safety Complex on Thursday, June 18th. Now, I would tell the board that any of you that would like to come, please come over there to that little family ceremony for the promotion on Thursday. And
What time is it, Mark?
Do you know what time that is, Beth? Okay.
I can find out and email the board.
Okay.
You
That
know,
would be great.
I can tell you right now. It's on my calendar.
Beth, can you still send that out to us?
Yeah.
So the swearing in is at 11 a.m. at the Public Safety Complex on the police side, 11 a.m.
Okay. Good.
We'd love to have you.
Good. Thank you.
2 in the academy, I already told you that. Okay. So the rest is non-public. So when you go into non-public, one would be under acquisition of land, and the other one would be under negotiations for a contract. Not my contract.
It's not property transactions,
There's
D?
two separate
D is
issues.
property transactions, yeah. that would
One's
be D.
acquisition, land acquisition, and the other one is going to be for negotiations of a contract.
There's a draft motion for the acquisition.
For
Yep.
the- All right, okay. We're not there yet, though, right? Okay. All right, so thank you for your report.
Can I be
Agree.
excused to
Yes, you
go
may.
downstairs, and I'll be right back?
Yes, you may. So while Mark is being excused, just quick action item review. I think we've already done the public comment policy, so that can come off our action items. And then I just wanted to check really quick with Greg regarding the analysis of the town website. Are we
Yep,
pretty much
you can
done with
take that
that?
off, yep.
Take that one off too, great. And the rest of the stuff can wait till the end of the year, so you guys are right on target with that. Two quick things from other business that we discussed last week. One was the RPC aggregation. Unfortunately, after we had decided to turn that over to RPC, Dee contacted me, Dee Voss, and told me that Taylor Technologies, unbeknownst to us, signed off on our contract with another vendor, Constellation. And that contract does not expire until 2021. And so this is why we don't want to do business with Taylor anymore, because they just arbitrarily sign things that they should not be signing, I guess. So I did ask Dee if she would be kind enough to talk to Constellation to see if we could kind of wiggle out of that contract, because we had already terminated this months and months ago. So she's in the process of working with that. If that fails, then we'll have to redo it again next year. But we are under an electricity aggregation with
I'm
Constellation.
confused. We just said that we had terminated that contract. What right do they have to renew us?
We terminated Taylor, but before we actually formally
Terminated.
had the termination on June 1st, they had already rewritten another contract for us with Constellation, which extended to the 2021. And so unfortunately, I don't know, that's why we're looking into getting out of the Constellation contract, because clearly there was an intent to disengage from them, so they really shouldn't have done that in the first place. In the meantime, we're still under energy aggregation, and so it's going to be with Constellation or with RPC, but we don't know yet. Dee's working on it. Okay, and Jay, did you have a comment, or?
No, it's really.
That doesn't sound right. That's just like my neighbor making a contract for me. and have to
I know.
obligate it.
I will forward you Dee's email to
Well,
me, and I'll be
can our
happy
attorney
to
look
do
at
that.
Because that doesn't sound right.
I know it doesn't. That's why we're getting out of Taylor's contract. That's exactly the reason. But anyway, if you want, I will forward you the email that she sent to me on that. So I'm glad your timing is perfect. So the last thing that I wanted to talk to you guys about is, you remember Mr. Peck was here to discuss landscaping. So I did a quick MOU, and I ran it by Sumner, and he threw it right back in my face. And he said, no, this is probably more appropriate to do a donation. And he was absolutely right. I should have thought of that. So looking at our donation policy, anything under $5,000 our town manager can accept. And so I wrote up a donation policy indicating there's 3 businesses that are donating the funds to have the landscaping done. So Mark, if you would be so kind as to accept that donation, and Greg Colby will keep track of, the in-kind donation for that service. And all we're doing is, I guess we're waiting on signage, and hopefully they can get started as soon as possible. But it's just for a 1-year term, and then we'll deal with it next year and see how it works. All right, so you're all set with that donation policy? Great, thank you. Okay, so I just want to make sure before we go into non-public, does anybody have selectmen reports that they want to discuss, or, go ahead, Jay.
Just have a couple things on, we had another rec meeting. As Mark indicated, they're gonna go forward with summer rec.
Yeah.
They're gonna go with the guidelines, so they're doing a lot of work to get that in place. The baseball has gone forward. They're just doing practices. That started this evening, and the baseball group has worked with the health officer and the recreation department to get those guidelines in place. And they have a safety officer out there with them. They're keeping the group small, even though when they started this, the guidelines have since changed on the number of people in a group. But for right now, they're just doing practices, so maybe that will be revisited soon. Softball, they've canceled it until the end of August, so softball isn't happening. And they did talk about summer concerts. They're still working out the kinks around that and getting clarification from the health officer. So they are working on trying to get those up and running as well. So also, they're looking to possibly rent out the fields for other baseball and softball organizations that are going forward with their, so that's something that they're looking at, so to try to recoup some of the lost revenue from recreation. Let's see, anything else? Summer rec, they're planning, it's gonna be 6 weeks, so it's gonna be a limited number at this point. So there's gonna be information coming out about that, so that's about it.
Okay, does any other selectman have any reports that they'd like to contribute? Go ahead, John.
Yeah, I had 2 meetings this week, actually 3, but John's going to cover the Old Home Day we had yesterday. But I had a hazmat meeting, it's their annual meeting. Jake Kennedy from the fire department represented them. There's 2 groups, there's a board of directors and there's an operations group. Operations group is fire chiefs, board of directors, representatives of the selectmen boards of 14 different communities. And we actually had an $850 increase from last year. However, we decided to, Sean from the next town up here, Selectmen, says, why don't we just level fund it anyway and find some place in the budget to level fund it? So we cut it back down to last year's amounts. We're going to have they also had to have a new policy in our charter. So they said we couldn't vote on it then, so we're having another remote meeting in July 1st to vote on those changes, which is a lot of pages too. I had a Rockingham Planning Commission meeting on June 12th, and while I'm going there, I'm thinking about all the services they offer. They do master plans, they do GIS, they do MSDS, well, they do the RSMS, road management systems, and other things. I'm just trying to figure out where we pay dues to them every year. Why are we not using any of these services, but we're contracting somebody else? I don't think anybody here has all those answers right now, but that's something that comes in my mind.
We did inquire on that on the planning board, and unfortunately, those also come at a cost as well, and sometimes they're more expensive than the current vendors that we're using, and that's why we have not tagged them. So we did inquire.
And the census is still out. People need to fill those out because that's budgeting for our towns and communities for a lot of services and things that the state and the federal. Yeah.
Twice.
Do it 3 times. So make sure if you haven't done the census, please
Vote
do it,
early,
because
vote often,
that affects a lot of years down the road. Then we'll find out what our real population is too.
Yeah.
And I also want to thank Mark and the health services director, whoever they were, because after that meeting, right away, I saw the tapes going on the playscapes and everything. So I'm glad you took action right away before some issue, and hopefully they'll come off at some point near future as well. So thank you very much for taking that action
Just
right
so
away.
you know,
Yeah.
I never expected that they would stay up. They would be ripped down, and they were ripped down, and we
Yeah.
got several phone calls
Yeah.
on why they ripped down, why did we put it up, and who ordered it to be put up. So, you can't.
I know. We know that happens.
That's right.
But thank you for taking that action right away and not waiting 2 weeks for another board meeting. And I already told you about my discussion with Peter Teresian, and that's it.
Okay, great. John, did you want to just jump in on Old Home Day?
Yeah, we had an Old Home Day meeting, and it looks like everything is pretty much not going to happen. Maybe the fireworks. We didn't have a lot of response on doing the house decorations or, the little skits at the house. The only thing that's still kind of out there is the beard contest, and Julian is participating. Other than that, that's it.
All right, okay. And Greg, you had nothing, okay. All right, so just make sure you guys sign off on all the folders for me before you leave. And we are going to go into non-public session, and apparently we have 3 different non-public sessions that we're going to need to do. So the first draft motion is in your folder. Go ahead, John, I'm sorry. Yeah.
I would like to go into non-public. I have a issue.
You would like to,
Can I bring it up when we go in?
oh, sure. We just have to make sure it's under the 91A, which particular,
Personnel?
Yeah.
I think it was personnel, probably.
is it personnel?
It's reputation.
It's reputation,
Reputation?
okay. So we have a bunch of them. So I guess what I will do is I will ask for a motion to go into non-public.
Reputation, yeah.
And I will preface this by saying that we will not be returning to televised session. So we're going to go into non-public right now with a voice vote. If someone would put the motion on the floor.
Okay, I make a motion that we enter non-public session under RSA 91-A:3, 2D, consideration for the acquisition, sale, or lease of real or personal property, which, if discussed in public, would likely benefit a party or parties whose interests are adverse to those of the general community.
Okay, may I have a second on that?
I'll second it.
Okay, and Beth, could you do a roll call for us, please?
Ms. Clark?
Yes.
Mr. Tillman?
Yes.
Mr. Pizza?
Yes.
Mr. Glenn?
Yes.
Mr. DeRoche?
Yes.
All right, so we will now be leaving the public section of our meeting. Good night, everybody.